I've got my colleague, Andrea Zimmerman, with me. She's our lead membership person. I don't actually know her full title because it's very long. And then my name is Katie Fitzgerald. I'm the Senior Communications Associate here at Advanced CTE. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with Advanced CTE, we are a national association representing state leaders of career technical education, and we thank you for joining us today. So today we are going to provide you an overview of the Excellence in Action Award. I will dig into some application changes from last year and previous years, go over some information into what we're looking for in terms of your application, and then we'll hear from two award winners from this year who will provide insight into what an award-winning application looks like, or program looks like. So we got a lot to do today, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump on in. If you've got any questions throughout the duration of the webinar, please chat them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We will have everyone except for the panelists and the host muted, and so we won't be able to hear you if you have any questions or concerns. Also, we'll be recording this webinar, so if you've got to leave early or you get called away from your desk at the last minute, you'll be able to see the full webinar on our webinars page on our website afterwards. It'll also be on YouTube. All right. So I just gave you a brief overview of today's agenda. I want to thank our panelists, Jeff Brown, the principal of Harmony Magnet Academy, and then Eric Williams, the assistant director of the Emergency Medical Technology program at Jones County Junior College, for joining us today. You're going to hear from them in a little bit. And I'd love to just kind of start with the application criteria. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the Excellence in Action Award, this is our 5th year of the award, and it's a way for us, I know that we represent the states, we don't represent the local level, but it's a way for us to really demonstrate what high-quality programs of study look like. And so we know that there's an ongoing CTE perception issue of CTE programs being less than for less than kids, for kids that aren't necessarily going to college or high-quality careers. And this allows us to really demonstrate to everybody, policymakers, critical stakeholders, even parents and students, that there are high-quality programs of study out there, and it's a great option for every kid's education. And so when you're kind of digging into your application, we know it's extensive, but there's a lot of reasons for this. We want to make sure that we're really honoring the best programs of study out there across the 16 career clusters. And kind of the quick overview of what we're looking for, which is also in the application, is implementation of career clusters-based program of study. So if you have a question about what this means, we've got a couple questions so far this year during the application process. There's a section on our website called Career Clusters, and you can kind of dig into what the Career Clusters framework is if you're unfamiliar with it, and what we believe a program of study looks like, the program of study framework. Second, maintaining effective employer and business partnerships. I'll really dig into this in a little bit. We want to see that your program demonstrates alignment to rigorous and relevant college and career-ready expectations, demonstrating a clear progression of knowledge and skills and student transitions across secondary and post-secondary systems. I'll also get into this, but we want your program to be a true program of study that spans secondary and post-secondary and really supports students through that transition. Also integrating successful career guidance and advisement. Something that I'd add to that is whatever recruitment strategies you have. We know there's a lot of innovative things happening out there, and I think that's what really makes other programs, applications kind of stand apart, is when you kind of demonstrate that. Also highlighting alignment to workforce and employer needs in the community, which I will also dig into in a little bit, and then providing concrete data around student success numbers, which I will also get into in a bit. So eligibility. So this is an award that's open to both secondary and post-secondary schools or colleges. I think traditionally people think of this as a secondary award. We mostly have secondary applicants, and I think that if you come from post-secondary, I certainly encourage you to apply. We'll have a post-secondary winner who will talk a little bit more about his program. But we're really looking, no matter where you're applying from, we really need to see that it's a program that spans both secondary and post-secondary. Also, your program has to have at least one full graduating class, so this can't be a program that started in the last year or two, because then you won't have that great student satisfaction data and student outcomes numbers that we need to see, and so we do need to see at least one full graduating class. What we added new this year, which is why it's bolded, is that your program must be eligible to receive funding from the Carl D. Perkins CTE Act. If you have questions about that and why we've added that, I'd be happy to answer that offline. Also, applications cannot include data, applications that do not include data to demonstrate positive impact on student achievement won't be considered. And so if you have none of that data section filled out, which we'll also dig into in a second, then your application will not go to the review committee. And then if your program has received any award in the past, you're welcome to apply again. We've had multiple school districts that have won multiple times, but of course you cannot apply in that same career cluster, because then you'd probably just win every year. And so why should you apply? Kind of the basics of what you'll receive as an award winner, and I hope that Eric and Jeff kind of drive home what it's meant to them in terms of winning the program too. But what you'll receive at a very baseline level is a digital banner to use in your email and print materials. We know that a lot of award winners use it in their email signature line, which is great. Also, we have an award ceremony every year at our spring meeting, which brings together around 250 state and national level leaders in CTE. And so you and a colleague will be able to travel to that and be awarded during a ceremony during the spring meeting in Washington, D.C. You'll also receive a national press release, which we will develop and also circulate to our media list. You'll receive a program-specific press release along with your state CTE Director's Office that you both can circulate it to your network, a standalone two-pager that we developed for you, and then you'll be featured on the Advanced CTE website. You'll also be featured in a monthly blog series, which I haven't included in here, in a variety of different ways. And so this is the baseline of what every winner receives, but a ton of winners have also gotten to do some really cool things as a result of this award. So why apply? You can see some great quotes here from two past award winners. I think they both won in 2015. I'm not going to read them, but you can certainly read them on your screen. Scott Nail from UVCC. We have featured Upper Valley Career Center multiple times, most recently in a project with the Department of Education around apprenticeships. They have been featured on numerous webinars and as part of multiple working groups, and so we've really been able to elevate their program at the national level. Probably most exciting is that the New York Times called looking for a student in a CTE program last year, and so we were able to feature a wonderful young woman who is part of their program in the New York Times and have a great profile of her. You can see another quote from Emily West from Henderson County High School, who is a winner in the education pathway. They use this for marketing purposes, but one great thing that Emily got to do was come to the White House for Michelle Obama's CTE Summit that awarded the first class of the Presidential CTE Scholars, and so she got to meet Mrs. Obama, which was fantastic. And so I think, you know, you will receive kind of the basic materials, but we also really use your programs as quality programs and high-quality programs throughout the year. So we bring them on the Hill with us, with your representatives. We pitch them to the media all the time. If you follow Education Week, you'll have seen multiple past award winners, most recently in the CTE at the Crossroads series. And so we definitely use these and try to elevate your program at the national level as often as we can. So the timeline, the application is due November 15th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Eastern. This is a hard deadline. You will not be able to submit your application afterwards, and so please mark that in your calendars. We have a selection committee made up of staff, and so we've got about 8 staff members here, and then we have we do a call to all state CTE directors. And so we'll have about 15 people on the selection committee. Each application is read multiple times by staff members and CTE directors, and so this is not a staff-led initiative. This is really led at the state level. So we have multiple people reviewing our applications and making sure that it is the highest quality program out there. So they'll receive the applications between November and December. They'll have a month to review, and then you will be notified of the status of your award January 2018, so whether you won the award or not. We will announce the award in April 2018 at the spring meeting, and so we don't do kind of a launch when we notify award winners. We really wait to do a big splash in April. And then, of course, award winners will be honored at the Advanced CTE spring meeting in April as well. So things to look for, and I'm not going to spend a long time on this list because we've got slides for each, but we'll dig into the student population and data piece because the data piece is so important to us. We need to not only get the great anecdotal information about your program, but then see that it's really driven by data. Sequence of courses and credit transfer, we've got a new section, kind of chart that I'll walk through. Alignment with industry and business needs, and then partnerships are things that are not throwaway pieces of this application that you should really focus on. So data. We've had a lot of issues with this section in the past. I think that we've tried to make it clearer and clearer, and I think there's just a lot of schools don't have the data that we need for this, and so we encourage you to work with your partners to really get this data, whether you're coming from secondary or post-secondary. One thing I want to drive home is that this should be in percentages, and so we don't want the raw numbers. We really want the percentages of just those in your program, not those in your entire school. Also, you'll see that there's some sections that are specific to certain classes of your data or of your student population, and so, for example, there's a section on the percent of students who participate in work-based learning. Well, if students can only participate in work-based learning in their junior year, let's say, then only include that group of students. So don't include the whole program because that'll drive your numbers down. And if you need to explain that, feel free to explain it either above the chart or under the chart in your application. The same that goes for percent of graduates who enrolled in post-secondary education. Obviously, freshmen wouldn't be graduating and enrolling in post-secondary. That'd be something that seniors would be doing, so only include the number of seniors that are accomplishing this. The same goes for the post-secondary chart. I didn't include this on this because it's pretty similar. But if you have any questions while you're filling that out, feel free to give us a call. But again, the two things that you really need to drive home are using percentages of only those in your program, not in the entire school, and then only using reporting on students who are eligible for those specific sections.
Katie, I'm going to interrupt you because there's a question about data that we just got from Eric Matthews, and he wants to know, why do you have to include a link to the data?
Sure. So we want to know that the data is valid, right? We know that that's not always going to be possible because your data systems often have kind of password-protected information. And so if you can just explain that in the section, we don't need to see the actual raw data that you're pulling from, but if you can explain where you got it from, and if you have a link, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. But we just want to make sure that there is some validation to this data.
Thank you.
Great. So next up is partnerships. People sometimes use this section as kind of a throwaway nice section on the application, and it's something that really sets your program application apart. You've got to list up to 3 partnerships for both education partners, so secondary, post-secondary, and then also industry and business, and so there's 2 different sections where you're filling this out. There's also a 3rd optional section where you can fill in community or nonprofit-based partners. But I think that's something that we want to see. What sometimes people end up doing is just listing the partner name, saying, you know, they've been there for 2 to 4 years and just listing advisory committee, right? And that's great that you have a robust advisory committee, but we really need to know what they're doing on that advisory committee. Are they contributing to a curriculum? Are they contributing monetary funds or in-kind services? So if you can really kind of parse out how they're really contributing to your program, that's what's really set past applications apart. And you'll have to do that for both education as well as industry and business. I think there's also a great way to demonstrate, you know, you'll have to answer this later in the application, but if you can show that they were part of the reason the program got started, there's a lot of great examples of that. I think that's another thing to really drive home as well. So sequence of courses. This is another section that's been a little bit wonky in the past. This year, we took away any option to explain your sequence of courses in narrative form, and you really will have to either put it in this chart or submit your own chart, and you'll see that Jeff of Harmony High School will show what chart they submitted in the past. And the reason that we do this is we really want to make sure that, you know, in early high school, they're getting those foundational courses that they need, both CTE, but also those academic courses. And then as they progress through the program, they're getting the mastery of skills and those technical courses. And so it doesn't work well in narration form like we've had it in the past, and so we really encourage you to use this chart or create some chart of your own that really drives home your sequence of courses. and shows that it's a true program of study. So what makes applications stand out? I've been reviewing these applications for the past couple of years, as has Andrea. We've both worked extensively with the selection committees over the past couple of years, and I think the things that, and Andrea, feel free to jump in, but the things that really make, there's so much competition around just these fantastic programs that there's just, you know, one or two things that can make your application stand out at the end of the day, and the compelling letters of support, I think, are fantastic. You have to have one, at least one from business and industry, and at least one from your educational partners. But if you can get more from those students, from those parents, alumni, other partners in community, your chamber, I think that really sets other programs apart. We use those quotes from those letters for your two-pagers and your press releases, and so I think having a lot of community support and really demonstrating that is key. Also, having the student voice, I think, is great. We've gotten applications in the past with tons of videos, news clips, even student testimonials, and I think, again, it shows that, you know, if you've got great data and you've got great sections in this application filled out, but then you have that anecdotal piece, I think that's something that the selection committee really loves to see. I'm not going to say data again, but I did underline it and bold it, and so we need to see that, you know, the student achievement that you're talking about is really backed up by compelling data. Another thing that you'll see in the application is CTSO involvement. So we know that not all career clusters are aligned to specific CTSOs, career technical student organizations, and that's fine. You know, if you come from a career, or you're working with a career cluster that doesn't have them, then no sweat. But if you do you know, work within a career cluster that does have a CTSO, we'd really love to see, you know, exactly how students are being engaged as leaders, as part of groups, as part of competition, so be sure to include that in your application. And then we all, again, want to see those strong and sustained partnerships. Andrea, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so as someone who's read these for, this will be my 4th year reading, you know, the one thing I would actually say that makes them stand out is when it's written in a way that everyone can understand it. So even though I'm steeped in all the education vocabulary, et cetera, I actually recommend, like, have someone who's not a CTE, you know, devotee really read it and make sure that it can be understood by everyone. And also that just that fresh set of eyes is always helpful, because there will be times in the data section it'll say, no one did work-based learning, but then in the description of the program it says work-based learning is required for all seniors. And so some of those holes, just you can always tell when someone else that's not, you know, steeped in CTE has read it. And that's, I think, a really good tip.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think another thing to kind of piggyback off of this is we know you likely will have multiple staff that are filling out different sections of this report. I would highly encourage you to do a final read at the very end, because sometimes things are left in or left out by different staff members that kind of can bring down the quality of your application. So be sure to do that kind of quick once-over at the end of your application as well. So some questions I've gotten over the past couple of years that I wanted to address, especially in the last couple of weeks, is that the student identifying data. And so you're welcome, of course, I just talked about that student of voice, so we'd love to see pictures, videos, anything you have. What you cannot submit, or else your application will be automatically excluded. We had a fantastic IT program that submitted last year that included grades alongside student names. We can't have any of that, and so no student identifying data in terms of actual grades or classes they're enrolling in. Also, this is open to all career clusters, and so we recognize 16 career clusters. Last year this year we actually awarded the last career cluster that we hadn't awarded, which was government and public administration. And so no matter if you have more of those traditional health sciences programs or kind of a newer age culinology program, we really encourage all career clusters to apply. And then for the process for submission, so this has changed quite a bit over the last year or two. In the past, if you've applied, you may have submitted your award through email. Now we've got a great submission form online. And so you will need to submit using that form, filling out the data on the top of the sheet. That's all the contact information and career cluster information that you're applying under. You'll need to submit your application as a Word document, because it's much easier for us to read in that form, and then all of your supplemental materials, so your links to any videos or pictures, media clips, your letters of support all need to be combined into one PDF and submitted under the supplemental materials section. And so I know that that's a little tough, but it just makes it much more streamlined on our end and hopefully on your end as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just give 10 seconds for questions. If anyone has any questions or Andrea's gotten any in the last few minutes before you hear from two fantastic programs, I'd love to just kind of take a second for that. So Andrea, did we have anything?
Yeah, there are a couple more that I just added in. So the first is, you know, what do I get if we win? What does my school get?
Sure. So I went over this a couple slides back, but you get a great banner. You also get a, here, I'll pull up the slide real quick. All right, so you get a digital banner to use in your materials. You also get a hard copy, like a huge, like, well, it's not huge. It's probably like, I don't know, 3 by 4 feet that I designed myself to hang in your hallway of your program or wherever you'd like to, you'll see a picture of Jones County Junior College and all their students holding it, and a few here. You also get to go to an awards ceremony as part of our Advanced CTE Spring Meeting in April, where you'll be awarded your award in front of the media, as well as about 250 state and national leaders of CTE. You'll receive a national press release as well as a state-specific press release that we send to you and your state CTE director, a 2-pager, and then featured on the Advanced CTE website. So this is not a monetary award beyond the stipend you get to attend the spring meeting. But what we're really trying to do is lift up your program on the national level, and I think there's a lot of value in that, even though we're not allowed to give cold hard cash.
All right, so the next one we just got from actually an Advanced CTE member, Ron in Hawaii, and he wants to know if we can see sample applications.
So unfortunately, you cannot. There's a lot of different reasons for this. Mostly, you know, we can't really provide you with applications that have been out there in the past. But we do have a rubric that we score everything by. I'd be happy to share a public version of that rubric that kind of digs into you know, not necessarily how we weigh each section, but how we review each section. And so if you want to receive that, feel free to give me an email at awards@careertech.org, and I can send that along.
Just 2 more questions.
Sure.
So one is, can I submit my program for more than one career cluster?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, these applications are extensive, and so you may want to focus on one, but if you've got multiple people who are working on these or you want to submit under multiple career clusters, you're more than welcome to do that.
Okay. And what if I've submitted an application in the past but I wasn't selected? Can I, like, do it again for that same program?
Yes. We also encourage you to do this. We, unfortunately, can only pick one winner per career cluster, but for career clusters that are more popular, like the health sciences or the STEM or TDL, we have multiple runner-ups, you know, that have fantastic applications, but we can only award one. And so if you want to know how your application scored last year, how you did, or how you can improve, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call, but we certainly encourage you to apply again. Is that it?
We have one clarifying question.
Sure.
So is it the same program can apply for multiple clusters or different programs across the career clusters?
Sure. So you can submit one program of study under one career cluster. We know that there's some programs that can kind of toe the line on multiple career clusters. So for example, we had a great ag winner this past year that was also culinary science based, and so it could have fit into either agriculture, or what's the one I'm thinking of? Hospitality and tourism. They could have fit under, I'm sorry about that. They could have fit into either, but you do need to choose one. If we have any questions or suggestions on moving it to another career cluster, we'll certainly do that, but for the sake of just hitting the submit button, you do need to select one career cluster.
And I think just one last question then. So as you're filling out the application and you do have a question, can they contact someone?
Yes. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me an email at awards@careertech.org, or you can just pick up the phone anytime and give me a call, and I'd be happy to walk you through any questions you may have. I get many a day, so you are welcome to add to that. So thank you so much for those great questions. Right now I'm going to pass it over to Jeff Brown, who's the principal at Harmony Magnet Academy, who was one of the winners of the 2017 Excellence in Action Award. I know that they just won another big award in California recently. And so he's going to walk you through what a fantastic award-winning program of study looks like and really demonstrate what we're looking for when we're reviewing applications. So Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And just to let everybody know, I also have our Pathway Director here also in the room. So if you have larger questions beyond my expertise, we can hopefully answer those.
Great.
You know, 5 years ago, we kind of fell into this Common Core here in California and those shifts. And fortunately, we were founded on a really good system. And part of that was with ConnectEd, which brought us to Link Learning, teaching through the career lens, bringing rigor and substance to the program, and then the National Academy Foundation, which really helped us build what an academy should look like. And so that's really been a very good structure for us. And that also includes the academy development structure, the advisory boards, which is really critical to our success. You know, listening to our partners who keep the industry standard at a very high level here have led us to making a lot of changes with our curriculum and how we do things. So very, very important. And then the NAF curriculum, which we started with Project Lead the Way in our engineering cluster. And then the work-based learning is a great component, and the Pathway Director really actually started that continuum of what that should look like from K through 12. So it's a continuous learning process for us, but every year a student is going to be engaged in some kind of work-based learning activity leading up to and the internship in the 12th grade year. And then that's really the focus, the paid internships. That's really the gold standard for our kids to be able to earn money while they're demonstrating 21st century career skills in a workplace, an actual workplace. Do you show up on time? How do you present yourself? So those things are really, really important for students advancing. Then what I call a winning system, you put all that together and it really produces what we call you know, high expectations. And that's built in, like I said, with our advisory boards, keeping those industry standards, maintaining a practical approach and what it should look like, and that produces that rigorous curriculum. You know, our advisory board told us when, and Cindy, my wife, who's the Pathway Director, was here then, they told them, because she was the first here at Harmony when they first started the school, that, you know, every engineering student needs to have chemistry. We need to have, you know, CAD programs, Inventor and Rivet for the civil engineering, and we need a strong work-based learning piece so our kids understand not just in theory anymore, but it's hands-on. They're actually putting that practice to work, and that's really made a big difference. It's the application piece. And then you look at that as a program, you have to have a complete source of data, because if you aren't looking at yourself, you're not going to make the changes that you need to improve continuously. And here at Harmony, we go through so many certifications. We've been certified through Project Lead the Way. We've been a certified Link Learning through ConnectEd, certified Distinguished through National Academy Foundation, the Advanced CTE. That to me is like a certification, you know, that, hey, you know, we have a solid quality program. And then this year, you know, and then the state of California was the gold ribbon award. And then nationally this year, now it's the blue ribbon. So those are continually things that we go through to help improve our cycle, help improve our program. So I would definitely, you know, have people look at doing that in every way that they can. And going through this process made us better, made me better as a leader. So thank you. Here's a look at the sequence of learning. You can see this was what was developed by our Pathway office. And it really talks about things in different stages: awareness, exploration, preparation, and then demonstration. And each year there are activities there, and then there's some of these are directly monitored by our district, like Freshman Ignite. That's a big assembly for every 9th grade Pathway student in the district. And in the second year, Mentors Conference, we have business partners who sit with every sophomore and every Pathway. We go to this really big building, and all the other partners are in there talking about what it takes to be successful in a workplace environment. So they're getting it as the 10th graders. In the 11th grade, we start the internship process. That summer, the 11th grade year, going into the 12th grade year. Of course, there are other things that we do. You know, it's not just career; it's college too. So you know, those 11th and 12th graders are really gearing up for that college process. And one of the things that I've seen or used as our tool is the Naviance program, which has really been critical in monitoring that, because it really does give you a good basis on which to build your career and your college platforms, and it makes it available for all students and parents and teachers and counselors alike. So the work-based learning, I just kind of broke this down here so you can kind of see as freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, kind of all the different things we do. Man, we do a lot of stuff, and but that's okay as long as it's meant to improve your program and to uplift some part of it. You know, all this stuff is, yeah, it's a process, and it's hard work, but you know, in the end, it's well worth it, because when you see 98% or 99% of your kids graduating and a high percentage going on to post-secondary opportunities, then you know it's worth it. And that's really what our goal is year to year. So this is just kind of give you an idea by grade level. And then go ahead, you can go forward. Then you know, this is to me where the rubber meets the road of any program. You can have all the bells and whistles and all the window dressing you want, but bottom line is, are you getting it done in the classroom? And when you have to develop that staff that's committed to that rigorous classroom, that it has to be student-directed. There's that word again, application, right? The students direct their own learning. They apply what they're learning. The integration and collaboration that has to happen between not just in the CTE classroom itself, but also in the core classroom. And that, to me, really made the difference for us, and I was happy to share with people, because a lot of states that we talked with, their directors, and you know, they centralize their CTE, and they send all the kids to one building, and then they're finding out now that more kids are staying out of that building and staying with, you know, the college piece, and CTE is losing a lot of interest in a lot of places. So I think what we did here was integrating the core and integrating the core academics and integrating the technical piece really has made a difference, and that collaboration is critical for that to happen. And you know, and it boils down to two words: college and career. And those are the big pots that we put stuff in, and if it doesn't fit in either one of those pots, we don't want it. And then we talk about framing. What's the essence of go ahead, you can go forward. What's the essence of teaching and learning? Well, this is where one of our partners, ConnectEd, has really helped us. And you know, what does it look like? Many people have different ideas about what true learning is, but what we found with our partner in ConnectEd in Link Learning is that essentially what it should look like every day is that teachers and academic conversations with students, and students having academic conversations with other students, teachers facilitating that learning process, that collaborative learning where they're actually having discussions, reporting out, and hopefully eventually applying what they learn in you know, where it's not theory anymore. It's they're actually doing it. And then what really is our guide to this is at what level does that happen? And that's why our CTE programs in the first year, our kids are learning the CAD program, Inventor, because everything they're going to do off of that in terms of computer manufacturing, and then the CTE piece, the Rivet, whatever they do in civil engineering and architecture, aerospace, that requires the use of a higher level technology. So that's really critical. So that, what I have found as a school leader, integrating that with the regular core has caused the depth of knowledge to really blossom, you know, and where students are actually applying it, they're synthesizing it, and they're able to evaluate it and make predictions about it, and they're processing it at a very high level, I think, because of that hands-on use. And there's just a couple quotes there for you. These are things that I've kind of guided me in what we do, and it's DeFore and Marzano, and there's others, but I always like the idea of if I look, and really what is the most important thing for me is for my teachers to come together and work as a group toward a common cause. And as a leader, that's what I do, is frame that work, but it's their work that really produces that depth of knowledge and behaviors of learning.
Great, thank you so much. Do we have any questions, Andrea?
Well, we do, and it's actually one that I wanted to pose to you folks, which is, like, what is the hardest part about putting together the application? Because I know it's big, and we ask a lot. So do you have any advice for folks as they're putting it together?
But don't take it all in one swallow. I think you got to bite off smaller chunks. Really process what you're doing. I did it that way, and I did it myself. I collaborated with my staff, but I thought it was important to have one direction and how it was written, how it was perceived. So I would get information from them. I would align that information with what the application is asking for. That's really a critical piece. And how deep do you want to go? I mean, even though you're asking for data at certain levels, I explored a whole other new, different levels at a real deeper, at a deeper rate. So I just take your time, make sure it's correct, align it to what application's asking for, bite off small chunks, and then rethink it. You know, you write it, and then you sit down, you read it again, rethink it, how it might be better portrayed to those who are reading the application.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. Eric, did you have anything to add?
Well, I agree with everything that Jeff said about doing the application. I think it took me probably 6 weeks in total, and I would write it, and then I would come back to it, and then I would write a little more, and I'd come back to it. And exactly what he said, I reread everything, and I wanted to make sure that not only was I being factual, but it was also something that I was portraying every good thing that our program did. And that's one of the things that I'll kind of take from my end, kind of looking at the extracurriculars.
Great, thank you so much. I think what you guys both did so well was really tell the story of how your program really sets up students for both college and career success, but also fits into kind of the larger community. And so driving home those partnerships and that industry-led piece, I remember were super significant parts of your application as well. So thank you. So next up, do we have any more questions before we? Okay, great. So next I'm going to pass it over to Eric Williams from Jones County Junior College, a post-secondary winner for this year, who's going to explain to you guys a little bit more about his program. So go ahead, Eric.
So I'll just take it away right here, and I'm assuming everybody can see the slide. I'm going to be a little less traditional than Jeff was. Our program really relied more on our industrial partnerships that we made, and this is not just an award for secondary educators. And we very quickly saw that this was something that our college did extremely well. So I'm going to bring you up to speed a little bit here on some demographics to let you know about where it is that I live. I live in southeast Mississippi, and everyone has an opinion on the state of Mississippi, I guess, and they're all overwhelmingly positive, I know that. But we live in southeast Mississippi. We are part of our parent facility, which is Jones County Junior College. If you happen to see the movie with Matthew McConaughey, it was based actually right here on our campus at the Free State of Jones. And I actually had lunch yesterday in one of the diners that was filmed in the movie, so kind of a lot of cool history there. We service 8 counties in southeast Mississippi, and the thing that you should know is that in the South and in Mississippi in particular, the community and junior college system is huge, and it's not as well funded as it should be, but it is fairly well funded and it's well structured, and there's a lot of care that's put into it here. Our college was founded in 1910, and our program, which I've abbreviated as EMTE, Emergency Medical Technology Education, was founded in 1990. We serve a very diverse population in Mississippi, and that's one of the things that I think gets overlooked sometimes. 82% of our residents that live in our 8-county district only have a high school diploma, and that shows that there is a huge potential for getting a non-traditional student into school and getting them into a non-traditional program. We're also very rural. We have a lot of people living below the poverty line. Almost a quarter of the people that live here, the per capita income is around $21,000, and I think for a family it's somewhere around $29,000. So I say all that to not put down on my area, but to say what a huge opportunity we have for turning things around, and that's one of the things that we have done very well here at JCJC is the ability to take what we are given with and not see it as a negative, but to see it as a positive that we can build upon. I'm going to come back right here to this 92% that you're going to see, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that towards the end of the program here. But looking at this, this is just a little bit more on our demographic numbers. I'm not going to dwell on these here. I pulled these directly from the PDF from my old application that we had done. It just goes ahead and paints the picture of, you know, what a diverse area that we have here. And the post-secondary data is all my college, Jones County Junior College, and the secondary data is from all of the public schools that are in our area. So you're looking at about 25,000 students K through 12 in 8 counties. I know some of you have 25,000 in your neighborhood in one school, but so we are a little bit on the rural side here. But let's talk about some of the things that our program has tried to do to build itself up. Now, when this program has always been a great program, but we've not always had the numbers that we have today. So what we tried to do with our program was to work with our area high school instructors, our community business leaders, our industrial stakeholders. We want to get everyone involved and get them excited about the CTE education that we're able to have here at Jones. And so we do this in a number of ways, and I have some photos in just a second, but we have multiple recruitment days at high schools. One of the, will you get that, Emily? And if it's for me, just a second. I apologize, guys. We have SACS on our campus today, which is our accrediting body, so it's kind of apple cart turnover. At any rate, we work very closely with people in our area. We get them excited about what it is that we want to do. And through that process, in the last 4 years, we've been able to increase our enrollment, not only in CTE at our college, but in our program in particular by a factor of 6. So we're actually very excited about that. We went from 2 full-time faculty members to 6 over the last few years. Just a few examples of the events that we do. You can see some recruitment from middle school on into high school. If you look there with the young ladies that's sitting around one of our mannequins, this was at a junior high career day that we did. In the bottom left corner, we have one of our instructors that has gone to teach CPR at one of the local high schools for the instructors. You can look in the right and the left-hand side there, or excuse me, the bottom and top of the right side. That's me with the student that's all bound up on the backboard, and then at the bottom we have the students that have done EKGs. So we'll take the fun things that we have, certainly in healthcare. We have a lot of fun stuff we can take, like our backboard and our cardiac monitor. But I know for a fact that a lot of these high schools would love to have somebody come in and cook, would love to have somebody come in and talk about bring a 3D printer, whatever it is that your program does special. I know that they would love to do that. And chances are you are already doing things like this. We have industrial-based partnerships all over the place. We are blessed to have a military base in our area, Camp Shelby, and then we have a long list of hospitals here and ambulance services. We partnered with aircraft services, Rescue 7, Air Ambulance, and then we have one at the bottom there that you might not traditionally think of. We partnered with Baumgartner Legal Services. I mean, hey, those of you in healthcare know how much legalese plays into what it is that we're doing. So we have partnered them in, and you can see on the slide here in the bottom right-hand corner, we actually have a lawyer that comes to talk to our class and to give them information on tort laws and on negligence, things of that nature. In the top right-hand corner, you can see some of our students are with Air Care. They are doing an air ambulance clinical. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can see our program director who is talking with one of the instructors for Camp Shelby. We actually were able to go out and partner with them, and we can get all kinds of supplies from them. They help us with our program, and we come out and help them when we are able to. And then to really see the fruits of it, of what we can get, if you look in the top left-hand corner, that is an old ambulance that has been donated to our program from one of our local industrial partners. That is how involved they are with what we're doing. They recognize the quality of what it is we're doing, and they want to back that. Kind of one more little area I want to look at here. We are huge in community outreach. Our program works with any event that they can find. I am the go-to person for it. And we do health fairs, we do trick-or-treating, we do group tours. We'll take any healthcare group in here and show them around at what it is that we do. And we're also very involved on social media. I know all of you are intently looking at this and not on your phones or anything, but if you happen to be, give us a look on Facebook, facebook.com/JCJCEMT, and we post a lot of the photos that we do there, and it gets the students really excited about seeing the involvement that we're doing out in the community. And you can see a few things that we have here. We do our trick-or-treating. We let students have tours of the ambulances. In the bottom left-hand corner, we had a group of retired gentlemen come by for a tour of our facility that we did. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see me working with 2 students. We go to health fairs and we do 12 lead EKGs for them for free. We get out in the community, we write a newspaper piece about it, we get involved, and people see what it is that we're doing. So just a couple of final things that I want to talk about here. Our programs, our CTE is most definitely the backbone of our area, and I'm sure that it is where you are as well. I'm a little bit biased towards CTE. I believe that it is what gives a person the tools to change everything that they have in their lives. And you are the people that I'm communicating with that are putting the tools in their hands. You're putting the scissors in the cosmetology student's hand, the wrench in the mechanic student's hands. You are giving them, figuratively, the tools to change their life and their course of action. We put their tools in their hands so that they can change their lives for the positive, especially if you live in a place like us that has our demographics. We have the ability to change things and to inspire greatness with the people that we're working towards. You know, I have at the bottom, and it's underlined, CTE, and I'm talking about you as the instructors and your students as the graduates. We have not only the education, but also the common sense to serve and prosper in America. I cannot stress that enough, and I hate to sound like a CTE cheerleader here, but, you know, where I'm at, nobody's opening up a factory to study philosophy. The jobs are not in English majoring. The jobs are in CTE, and that's where they're at, and we are putting that there. So if you have a program that highlights that, that exemplifies that, please do. I can't tell you how many times we have, or how much I have learned from looking at the other programs that were here to make our program better. So I appreciate your time on that, and I appreciate you humoring me while we had several people come into my office.
Well, I appreciate you giving this presentation, given that you've had pneumonia for the last week. So you don't even sound like it. You sound great. But I thank you both for taking the time. So I think we're going to open it up to questions real quick here. So, Andrea, do we have any questions for us?
Yeah, so Jeff, just so you know, I have unmuted you, and Eric, if you can keep yourself, did we do that? No. Okay, I've unmuted you as well, Eric, just since we're going to be in the Q&A section now. This first question is actually to both of you, so maybe Eric, if we can start with you since you've been talking, and then we'll segue to Jeff. But how have you used this award since receiving it?
It has been a great boon for our college as far as marketing. We always knew that we did CTE the best, and now we have a national award that has shown that. Our college has used it as a marketing tool in order to bring the students here. You know, hey, if you want to make a difference in your life in the next 1 or 2 years, then you need to bring it here. And it's also given us notoriety in our field. We've sent out the press release to several scholarly journals in the field of emergency medical services, and it has really put us on the radar and opened up tons of other possibilities for us.
Great. Jeff, did you have anything to add?
No, I think Eric's right on. The only thing I would add is for some schools, for us, we're a charter school, so you know, recruitment is a big issue. So that really plays a big role in putting a light on your program with this type of an award. And secondly, I'd like to say is that what I really got out of it was the spring meeting. I mean, I really learned a lot from a lot of different people, and really put things in perspective for me. So we've tried to leverage it in those ways, and then obviously I think it had a big part of us receiving the blue ribbon this year. So anyway, I'm just grateful to you guys for all you do.
Great.
Thank you for that. So we have a question from Diane, and at the risk of pronouncing your last name wrong, I will not. So Diane has a great question here. This is actually for Katie. So how many nominations do you receive every year, and how many awards do you anticipate giving in 2018?
Sure. So we receive around 100 applications per year and award. We would love to award one in each career cluster, but we don't. So the first year we had 6 award winners, second 9 award winners. The past 2 years we've upped it to 11 award winners. And the reason for that is we don't want to just give an award to any program because they applied and they were the only application in that career cluster. So they really need to be quality programs to even receive the award. Of course, my goal is always to get an award winner in each career cluster, but there's also always those career clusters that are a little less, you know, they have fewer applications than the more traditional ones. So things like arts often have fewer, things like education, law, government, and public administration. So if you have a strong program in any of those areas, I certainly encourage you to apply. So the way that it works is we get about 100 applications from across the country. Staff does an initial review of each application. It's read by 2 people on staff at least. From that, it moves to around 30 or 40 so about half go to the selection committee. And then the selection committee, made up again of staff members, but also state CTE directors and their staff, are review those 30 to 40 applications. And so your application is read by at least 4 to 5 people. So this is, again, not a staff-led selection process. It's really led by us, but also the community. We also, newly last year, which we'll do again this year, which has been really fun, is that we have past award winners also join the selection committee, and it really is a great chance to get kind of that local perspective that we may not always get, and allows past award winners also to have that kind of professional development piece and getting to read more about other fantastic programs.
Great. So we have a question from Ron that's directed to Eric, but I'm actually going to say I think the question can also be inverted for Jeff. So to Eric, because Ron is based in the post-secondary system in Hawaii, so I know why he's asking this question. He's saying, where did you get the secondary level data to include in your application? And so Jeff, the question for you would be, on the vice versa side, how did you get the post-secondary level data since you're in the K-12 side? So Eric first.
On my end, I found the post-secondary data on our school's website, and I used it, and also the Mississippi Department of Education had some, which is, I'm not a master of how things work all across the nation, but they were able to provide some post-secondary information, and then we have the Community College Board that had some information there as well. I barely know it from Mississippi, so I certainly don't for Hawaii, but I would think that you have something similar. We have the Department of Education, which works K through 12, the NCCB, which works post-secondary, and then we have the IHL, the Institute of Higher Learning, which works with the universities. That's the majority of where I was able to find my information, and I was lucky enough that it was public so that I could reference it easily.
All right, and Jeff, do you have any insights from the K-12 side for you?
Yeah, the K-12, that's a tough nut to crack because there's really no national organization other than the Clearinghouse that really does that tracking. And in order for them to track it correctly, the colleges have to submit paperwork, which often doesn't happen. So what we resorted to is in our Naviance program, we have surveys that our students take. We know where they've applied to, where they've been accepted, and where they're going. And then based on financial aid packaging, we're able to track them more effectively through the FAFSA process. So that has been our go-to when we're tracking post-secondary data.
Great, thanks so much. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the most challenging part of the application for folks. It seems like, you know, submit as much as you have. We'll probably ask you for more, and we have to go back to a bunch of programs at the end of the application process because there's so many close winners to to kind of parse out that data piece. But if you have more questions on the data piece, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to answer them. I think we had another question about what sets programs apart. And so I kind of referred to this earlier, but I think the biggest things are, really driving home the data, but then also helping to tell the story. And so we know that the questions can kind of be a little cut or dry, but I think the things that, your supplemental pieces, whether that's media clips or videos or articles or student testimonials or alumni, the letters of support have to be really strong, and you need to have one from both business and industry, but also your education partners. I think that really sets programs apart if you have more than two, and even if you have only two, if they're really strong. And I think the big thing that we're looking for that, we need to continue to drive home as a community is that it's a true program of study. And so it really does need to demonstrate that it's supporting students from those early high schools, even middle school, all the way through post-secondary. And so, if you can show that through your sequence of courses chart, but then also through the different work-based learning experiences and your partnerships, I think we need to see that it's certainly setting up students for furthering their education and their career. But if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those offline. And so I think we're about at time. Jeff or Eric, did you have any final thoughts you wanted to add before I wrap up, or do you want me to just keep on going?
Well, I just wanted to... Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I would just encourage the folks that are going to apply, whether you win or lose, it's a great process, and it's worth doing. So I would really recommend folks to go forward with this.
Absolutely. It's said so much, but you'll learn so much about yourself, and one sure way to not be selected is to not even bother to do it. It'll illustrate your strengths and your weaknesses on that. And one more thing, if the gentleman from Hawaii is still on here, I will be happy to come out to Hawaii and help you with that if you'll pay for my airfare out there.
Personal site visit.
Me too. I'd love to join in on that trip. Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I think these are just great demonstrations of kind of great program study at both the secondary and post-secondary level, and I really appreciate you both joining us. I also want to kind of give some housekeeping. So we have recorded this session and we'll post it to YouTube. And so if you missed the first part or whatever it may be, or you want to send it to your colleagues to convince them to apply, we'll be posting that either later today or early tomorrow morning and sending it to all that registered. You can also request to receive the slides, so those will be on the YouTube, so I don't know that you'll need them, but if you'd like them, I'd be happy to send them along. And again, if you have any questions throughout this process, you've got 3 weeks to finish your application as of Wednesday, so tomorrow. Please feel free. That's a big part of my job is helping you work through this application process. So feel free to pick up the phone and give me a ring or shoot me an email at awards@careertech.org at really any time. And if you applied in the past, then I'd be happy to talk to you a little bit about how you may beef up your application for this go-round. So again, thank you to Eric and Jeff. I appreciate you both joining us. Eric, I hope you feel better. And I will just want to thank everybody who's on the call for joining us today. And I look forward to reviewing all of your applications. All right?
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.